I'm a redhead, and I'm Ashley Thorne. I have a question for you. Think back. What is the best book you read when you were in college? Yes. Homage to Catalonia? Anybody else? The Bible. Anyone else? Atlas Shrugged. What was the other one? Thus Spake Zarathustra. Well, I can tell you, oh yes? University Economics. Christina. Shakespeare. I can tell you that none of these books that you just mentioned, and I can imagine none of the books that came to mind in this room, are being assigned as common reading by American colleges and universities today. I first started paying attention to college common reading programs in 2010 when my fellow panelist, Charles Geschecter, told me about Cal State Chico's common reading book for that year, The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind. I looked up the book and I was intrigued, and I thought, I wonder how many other colleges do common reading programs. What are common reading programs? How do they conduct them? What kind of books do they assign? What kinds of colleges have common reading programs? At the time, there were one or two incomplete, out-of-date lists, so I decided to take a more comprehensive survey. That year, and ever since, every year ever since, we have published a study called Beach Books on these common reading or summer reading programs, wherein we not only list the books that were assigned by all the colleges and universities that we could find that had these programs, but we also categorize them according to the subjects and the genres that they are in to see the larger trends emerge. Common reading programs are a recent phenomenon, and they've become very popular. The way it works is that a college will pick one book and assign it to students for the academic year. It might be required and enforced with a test or an essay, or it might be optional. It might be just for new students to read over the summer, or it might be something that is encouraged for the entire campus community. And that word community turns out to be an important reason why colleges have common reading programs. Many of them say that they want to build and enrich campus community by doing this. And perhaps one reason why that need is felt is because when college students arrive these days, the only shared knowledge that they have with one another is of LeBron James, Breaking Bad, and How I Met Your Mother. But college professors can't assume that students will have read the same books and studied the same things in high school, and then college isn't going to change that because there are no core curricula. And so that's where common reading programs come in as an attempt to simulate this shared intellectual experience across campus. The colleges that do this are split pretty evenly between private and public institutions. And although some, like Dartmouth, are top tier, most of the colleges with these programs are simply aspiring to be elite and not elite themselves. This year's study, which will come out in late April, covered 235 colleges, which assigned 151 books. So, what are they assigning? We have 4 main findings this year. First, the books are very recent. 97% of them were published in 1990 or later. Second, out of the 235 colleges that we have in our study that do this, only 4 assigned books that could reasonably be described as classics. Third, the most popular book by far this year and last year is called The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's being made into a movie, HBO movie by Oprah. It's the story of the first immortal cell line that started in the 1950s, taken from a black woman's cancer cells at that time. and the cells survived and are used for scientific research. It's also the story of Henrietta Lack's family today, which is seeking financial compensation for their grandmother's accidental contribution to science. Fourth, the subjects that many of these books emphasize are overwhelmingly political. We counted The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks as belonging, although rather loosely, to the category science. But the next top two categories are one called multiculturalism, racism, and immigration, and one called poverty in America. So in the 3 years since we've been doing this, NAS has become a go-to source on common reading programs. The MLA, in its national conference last year, discussed our findings, and the Huffington Post has a slideshow featuring our list of recommended better books for next year's beaches. To come to college, to come into a new relationship with books. That's a quote from the website of SMU for its common reading program. And that's true. To come to college ought to mean to come into a new relationship with books. And to a large extent, a student's ability to read and to read well will determine his success in his college career. While it's a good thing that colleges are encouraging this idea and that they're doing something to promote the lost art of reading outside class, they're really wasting the opportunity by assigning trendy, politically correct books. It doesn't have to be that way. One student who was in an NAS member's Intro to Literature class, who had never come into contact before with what might be called great books, got a hold of a copy of Robert Hutchins' The Great Conversation, and it changed his life. He wrote afterward that he and his classmates felt and spoke as if we had rediscovered some long-forgotten treasure abandoned by the generation before. He said he realized for the first time that reading can make you a better human being. Students deserve to know the really great books, and chances are they might like them. Thank you.